spokesperson, advocate, and educator working toward improving pain management for Canadians. As a person with lived experience in workplace injury, persistent pain, and a caregiver role, Lynn advocates and models that the voices and perspectives of people impacted by pain and workplace injury be embedded in research, policy discussions, and initiatives that will create solutions for more effective and compassionate pain care. Among her past roles within the pain community, Lynn served as president of the former Canadian Pain Coalition, as an advisory for the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance, and on Health Canada's scientific review panels regarding opioid prescribing. In her current work today, Lynn is the Director of Research and Education for the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance. She's a Power Over Pain portal development team member and serves as a co-chair of the Training and Capacity Building Committee of Chronic Pain Network. She continues her involvement in updates to clinical practice guidelines for opioids and cannabis for chronic pain. So again, we're thrilled to have her and really feel lucky and fortunate that she's able to take time out of her very busy schedule to spend some time with us this morning. In terms of the presentation, we asked folks that they put their questions in the chat, and both Tiffany and myself will manage that, and we'll keep track of your questions, and then Lynn will be able to answer them at the end of the presentation. This session, as you know, will be recorded, and it will be posted on our website and social media. I'd like to acknowledge that we're presenting this session on Treaty 1 territory, where the Occupational Health Center is located, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We acknowledge that we're all treaty people and recognize the history and impacts of colonization on Indigenous peoples. We commit ourselves to active accountability, justice, equity, and reconciliation. And lastly, a little plug about the OHC for those of you who may not know a lot about us. We were established back in 1983, really to meet the need for quality, accessible, and comprehensive services on workplace health and safety. That need continues today. And so we help workers, we help employers and joint health and safety committees to improve workplace health and safety conditions and eliminate hazards. Really, at the end of the day, all of us who work here are really passionate about making sure workers get home safely. Our services are available free of charge. And that short little paragraph can't do justice to what everyone does here and the hard work that we do at the OHC. So I will encourage you and invite you to look at our website for more information. And I think Tiffany will be able to put that in the chat. So having said that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it over to Lynn. Welcome, Lynn.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to open my slides. And I'm hoping that everyone is seeing my introductory slide here. Are we, Lisa?
Yeah, it looks great.
Wonderful. I'm really thrilled to be with you this morning. I do have a busy schedule, it seems, Lisa, but this is what I absolutely love doing. I love speaking about so many different things, connecting work injury and chronic pain. And I'm going to be giving you all a tour of the Power Over Pain portal, which is an incredible resource. I'm wearing several hats this morning. Director of Research and Education of the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance. I see my internet is showing unstable. I hope you can still hear me. I'm on that Power Over Pain development team, but you know, I feel that the most important information that I'm going to provide to my peers today and also to the healthcare providers who are participating is that lived experience with work injury and chronic pain. As I start into our time together, first and foremost, everyone, I would like you all to make yourselves comfortable. None of you are on camera like the three of us are. You can get up and move around. You can get yourself a drink. You can do some stretching. And you can just simply take care of yourself if sitting for this length of time isn't the best thing for you. So please do that. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is very important. Also, as I go through the materials, there may be some things that I will talk about that you know about, or coping strategies that you've tried that may or may not have worked, or resources that you may see um, that may or may have worked in the past. It doesn't mean that they may not now or in the future. So just keep kindly an open mind and give it your curious attention. We're all coming from different backgrounds, from different life experiences. And so we're just asking that everybody approach this from a kind and respectful way. And can you see that center box where you see the word welcome, cooperate, and connect? You might notice that my last name is within the word cooperate. My last name is Cooper. And so I just think that's something that I always like to bring forward, because I really do work to create a collaborative atmosphere. Moving forward, I'm going to, with pleasure, introduce you to the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance. I will be connecting work injury and chronic pain. I also will be interjecting some of my own life experience as a person with lived experience with chronic pain and work injury. And, you know, I've been at this for a long time. I was injured in 1986. I learned I had chronic pain in 1989. So you can do the math about how long. It's been over 30 years that I've been on this journey. I've learned a couple of things, I hope. And then I'm going to give you a tour of the Power Over Pain portal. So, sharing about the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance. It is a smaller but mighty organization. It has been a charity and not-for-profit, working on the national stage since 1991. Our vision is to support injured workers in living their best lives. And our mission is really to raise awareness about the needs and issues facing injured workers in Canada, to conduct and participate in research, provide and develop knowledge and education toward justice and solutions for all of the issues of concern to injured workers. And there are issues and concerns for their family members. It's not only the worker who experiences the impact of work injury and chronic pain, it's their families. And we are very sensitive to the survivors of workplace fatalities and their families. We work with organizations that strive to improve occupational health and safety of workers, to prevent work injury in the first place, and to work towards improved safe return and stay at work for injured workers. We are moving towards developing and supporting the capacity of injured workers groups and organizations so that we can achieve our common goals of dignity, justice, and accessibility. And in everything we do, just like me being here with you today, we bring forward the lived experiences of injured workers. So I'd like to share a little bit about CWA for short, CWA's projects. In the awareness building and education arena, we have really recognized that we have to go back to basics to make sure that in as many meetings with ministers, federal ministers, that we can have, and within the pain community, we need to bring forward that injured workers are a community for which we need to be improving services. First of all, we need to be recognized that injured workers, and there are many of us, as you'll see shortly, develop chronic pain, and we have special needs for helping us to return safely to work. We are always working to develop new resources and be involved on teams like the Power Over Pain team that has developed this wonderful portal that gives information and knowledge about chronic pain for everyone. We are constantly doing outreach like this presentation with you today, and we're reaching out to injured worker groups across the country. So if you are involved in an injured worker group and you haven't heard from us yet, will you please contact us? I'll give you the information on the last slide today. We're looking for volunteers to become involved in the work that we do. And we do have a nice roster of volunteers now, so we would be happy to welcome you to the team. Outreach happens in many forms, in presentations to like-minded groups. And one of the huge things that we're doing right now is participating in research on research teams that do research that will benefit injured workers through changes to health systems, the way that work injury is seen. And so the way that we participate is through what is known as collective ways of knowing. That means that when we participate, we really want to see, or we bring together individuals who are bringing as many voices and perspectives as can be to a problem or a research question. And so we have done a lot of work in investigating how chronic pain is connected in return to work and stay at work planning. We know that because of our research that there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done to make sure that that happens. And so we're talking with the federal government and others about how we can make this happen. We did a survey to injured workers about their experience during COVID and the impact. And we found out exactly what we knew, that injured workers are isolated anyway. They have difficulty getting health supports anyway for their work injury and their chronic pain. But COVID and the isolation that happened there really impacted injured workers. We're doing a research project right now with Lakehead University, looking at how stigma is experienced by injured workers. And you wouldn't believe that Stigma within the research papers that have been written is not really referred to. It's not named as stigma. And so that impacts how people understand how injured workers are seen and viewed, and how they experience stigma in receiving healthcare, working with workers' compensation, dealing with their employers, and returning to work. So we have a huge project happening there. We're involved on lots of pain teams, research teams, the Power Over Pain team. I represent CWA there. There's research being done into the type of knowledge and skills that physiotherapists need to be able to work effectively and provide pain care and return to work care for injured workers. I'm involved in the opioid and cannabis guidelines that are being updated this year. And we're looking at how self-help and learning those skills can support injured workers in learning what they need to learn to get back to work in a seamless way. So work injury and chronic pain, what we know and what we don't know. Well, we know a tremendous amount. We know that in 2021, the Workers' Compensation Boards of Canada reported that there were 277,217 accepted lost time claims by WCBs in Canada. What we don't know is how many claims were not filed by workers who were afraid that if they reported a work injury, they might lose their jobs. We don't know how many claims were not accepted. If someone knows how I can get that information, I would love for you to put it in the chat. We know that, and this is through my reading of the 100-page report from the Association of Workers' Compensation Boards, that and looking at what type of injuries were involved in these 277 plus thousand claims. So they were burns and breaks and trauma to the body and illnesses that developed from workplace exposure. And when I looked at those, I could really, from a layperson's perspective, I could see that about 75% of those injuries would involve some form of acute pain, which is the short pain that you would expect if you have a broken arm. And acute pain is pain that goes away once the healing takes place. We don't know how many workers who are experiencing acute pain go on to develop long-term chronic pain that is in their life forever. We know that living with chronic pain is horrible enough for the people whose cause of their chronic pain is not a work injury. We know that's horrible, but we do know, and I live this, I know that having my chronic pain develop from a work injury causes me even more issues and stress. And so for any of my peers who are sitting out there, I see you. I know what some of the things are that you're going through. And I know the healthcare providers and allied helping profession people who are on the webinar today, that you will see people like me in your clinics and in your in your workday. And we also know that working to support us can be extremely challenging. What we don't know, and it's been highlighted through our investigations and research, is that we don't know what is the best way to help change the systems, to improve the systems, to ensure that there's training for injured workers, there is training for employers and workplace colleagues so that accommodations can happen and a better work environment can happen to integrate people as they're able to shift back to work. I'd like to shift a little bit now and talk about pain. So I'm sharing with you now a slide that comes from the pain portal, and the source of pain is a physical and emotional experience that alerts us that something may be wrong, comes from um, the International Association for the Study of Pain, which is an organization that has chapters of researchers and clinicians across the world. And they bring together a deep knowledge of the clinical and research experience about pain. And also within their ranks now, I'm delighted to say, is the lived experience with pain. So they too are starting to work on collective ways of knowing, of bringing all the voices together to work on the problems. What we know about our pain is that it is very complex. And once our pain, our acute pain from the injury, lasts longer than 3 months or beyond what would be the normal time of healing, we move into the realm of chronic pain. And chronic pain, unlike acute pain, which is meant to alert us that something might be wrong, chronic pain happens, from my layperson's terms, because our system, our body system, gets used to the pain and it kind of gets rewired. And then we experience pain that is not serving a purpose for us, yet it continues on. And that is called neuroplastic or, well, neuroplastic pain. The good news about this from research that's been done over the years is that there are many ways that we can help ourselves to kind of retrain our body systems to not have that horrible pain firing as badly. And I'm going to leave the more information about that to healthcare providers. And I'm going to show you where there is an incredible workshop about that so that you get the knowledge from the experts on that. So what we know is our pain can be from an injury. It can be from an illness, and it can just be pain that does not seem to have a cause. But pain is pain, and we need to be able to deal with it. What does influence our pain is everything that surrounds us, the physical factors about our injury and our environment, our beliefs, and our cultural background. You know, there are some cultures where there is not an actual word for pain. And so it's more of a description of what's going on. If we believe we can't deal with our pain, guess what? That we're setting a process in, we're setting up a process where that might actually happen for us. So I have some things that I'll share a little bit later. Our mood and emotions and our sleep really impact our days. We know that whether or not we have pain. Everybody experiences that. You can be less enthusiastic. You can feel less capable of tackling a task. Then add on the burden and the impact of pain. And so it really creates some challenges for people. And then there are changes in the body system that can happen. So lots of things can make our pain better and make our pain worse. I'd like to shift now a little bit, and here comes Lynn's story, integrated with some of the impacts of pain. Now we're in about almost half an hour. I would suggest that everybody who can get up and have a stretch break. Shrug your shoulders, do some stretches, move them around. Yeah, see, I did this because I need this right now. Move around, grab a drink, and be well. So, we as people with pain and people who have pain because of an injury experience being lost in systems that simply are not prepared, do not have the infrastructure to be able to support all the needs that we have. These would be the, the compensation systems, the health systems, our employment systems, our employers and our that environment don't have the knowledge yet about what chronic pain is and how to provide accommodations. We and our families, when we start into this, don't realize what's happening. You know, I had my injury. I had to lift the lid of an antique floor safe to keep it from crushing my feet. I injured my lower back and upper back. And from that, I developed migraine headaches. I developed all body pain, that is fibromyalgia. And I still live after 30 years with pain that goes down into my legs, right to my toes and my shoulders. So I probably look really great today, but I live with pain and I have pain right now. And I am actually kind of doing a meditation. I check in with myself in order to be here with you today. So I've learned a lot of coping strategies. So we are lost in systems. We are very unclear about what we should be doing. Because the systems are not set up to provide us with supports, we are very underserviced. And I would suggest that injured workers really could have better servicing from all of the environments that we interact with, because we're experiencing all of this impact in our life. We can have many feelings about that. I think the two most prominent ones, and that's why I've put them on the signpost here, is fear and frustration. We're frustrated because we want to get fixed so we can get back to work, or we want to have things set up so that we can get back to work, we can support our families. We're fearful about what's going to happen to us. How are we going to survive the pain? How are we going to deal with the pain? Will it ever stop? Who are we going to find to help us? And so, on top of dealing with all the systems, communicating with them on a regular basis, we're dealing with all of these feelings and more. We can be disbelieved. Someone looking at me today would say, Lynn Cooper's on there. She's doing this presentation. She's already sat for half an hour and she's still talking. Well, but they don't know what might happen. My pain levels are going to go up as I am working with you today. And thankfully, I know that I have skills that I can use to moderate the pain. But they don't know what my life is like. And when we're out in the world, we always put our best foot forward. Why wouldn't we? That's what most people do. And so we can be disbelieved as complainers, malingerers, and even drug seekers, which is extremely unfortunate, and it can be very stigmatizing. And so when you look at the little diagram on the right-hand side of your screen, when injured workers are dealing with the systems I mentioned, and as they're starting to transition back to work, if they're able to go back to work, they can experience a lot of these feelings and these situations. They experience shame. You can feel devalued. You may not be able to do the work that you did before, or others at work have to, and I'm using this word on purpose, have to pick up the slack. It shouldn't feel that way. It should be that accommodations are set. Everyone is educated about the help that you need in order to be able to do your job. And there may be some aspects of your job that someone else will now do, and you will pick up other things. So but you can feel shame. You can feel blame for being injured in the first place. You can feel that you don't fit in anymore with your workplace, your family, your social connections. And this can cause an individual to not come forward and say what they need or have an accommodation tweaked or changed. You feel that you have to keep your pain separate. And so one can feel very isolated and very hopeless. And we can do better about this. We can make the changes within the systems eventually that will cause better experiences in return to work. This slide in, this was made many years ago. It is still very relevant today. And this highlights the systems that an injured worker will be dealing with. And you'll be able to read there some of the, this is related to stigma, but some of the ways that stigma happens within those systems and what needs to change. Stigma it is a mark of disgrace. It's based on misunderstandings and myths, and it can really isolate an individual. It can be very demoralizing and demeaning. And there are ways that this can be changed within workers' compensation systems, workplaces, healthcare, and society and family systems. When you develop long-term pain, you may not know that you have long-term pain. My injury was in 1986. My body was living chronic pain when I learned that I was living with chronic pain 3 years later. There was a disconnect in my thinking. I was thinking in acute mode, if you will. I was looking for someone or something to fix my pain and get me back to my very active life. I was a long distance runner, a skier. Um, I was starting into my career in urban and regional planning when all of this happened, and my life changed. I developed the long-term pain, which impacted my sleep in so many ways, difficulty going to sleep, difficulty staying asleep. I, in acute thinking mode, I felt that if I held back on activities and the pain was causing me to feel I should hold back on activities, I did that and I became deconditioned and my physical functioning decreased. When that happened, I experienced pain more. When I wasn't sleeping, I experienced pain more. I was dealing with all of the emotions, like the fear I mentioned before, and like grief. The grief of having to deal with maybe some things I wouldn't be able to do anymore, like what I thought would be my distance running. By the way, I didn't run, but I did walk. I worked my way back to walking, and I've walked half marathons to raise money for pain and pain management. But during this getting involved with chronic pain at the beginning, this cycle started to build. With all of the emotions, the lack of sleep, I was starting to feel depressed, and I'd never experienced depression before. And the horrible fatigue that all of these things added to me just simply increased my pain. And then round and round and round it went until I learned that I had chronic pain. And I was able to start to be able to find places on this pain cycle where I could make small but really significant changes. And my journey began. So, the most important thing for me, everybody, that I learned was that my body was living chronic pain, long-term pain. I needed to shift my thinking from acute mode, looking for someone or something to take all of the pain away and to get me back to life as it was. When I learned I had chronic pain, I didn't like that because it felt like a life sentence. But at least I knew that I was going to have to start making some changes. And I started to get busy to learn what I needed to about what was chronic pain at the time. And you can do that too now through the pain portal and the resources that I'll show you. To learn about what the pain is and to start making those changes within the pain cycle that you can make that are unique to you, that will help to bring that impact of pain down in your life. One blessing, that's the only word I can use for me, was a very kind psychologist said to me, because I did not like the word chronic. She said, Lynn, you don't have to call your pain chronic pain. You can call it persistent. It's in the literature. It's referred to that way. And I didn't appreciate what she said, the moment she said it. However, when I got home and I thought about it for a little while, I thought, oh, persistent pain. Well, the pain is persistent in my life, that's for sure. So, how can I be persistent in how I learn about it, how I deal with it, how I adapt? And that's what I did. So, from here on in the presentation, I'm going to call it persistent pain. That's how I think of it. And every time I say persistent, I think about what I can do. One other important thing I learned in the persistent pain journey is that our body has pain. And in acute mode thinking, we might be worried that because we have pain, it's an alarm bell and something is wrong and what we're doing would be harming us. As you go along and you consult with healthcare providers about all of this, you're going to learn that there's going to be pain that you carry with you. It hurts, but it will not, there isn't something wrong, and you doing whatever the activity is will not harm you. So always open your communications with your healthcare providers. I want to impress on everybody listening that the people who live with pain, we are people first. We have hopes and dreams and goals. And these simply must, all of these things must continue on as we learn to adapt with our chronic pain. The healthcare providers who are on the Zoom, we are people, you are dealing with people with hopes, dreams, and goals. And there are things that you probably do now and that you can learn to help us to create realistic goals, and to realize our dreams. And you are going to feel absolutely fantastic when you see us doing that. For my peers, I must say it's really important for you to get involved in your pain care. You know what's happening in your body. Work on establishing a good relationship with whatever healthcare provider or person you're working with, your occupational therapist, your physiotherapist, your pain specialist, your return to work person. Get a good relationship going, because then you can work to have shared decision making about what goes forward. And we need to know that isolation with chronic pain is not good for us. We can't do this alone. We need to recognize who around us can help us. From all of the systems I talked about within our families, friends. For instance, my physiotherapist, my family doctor are the people who really help me to manage pain whenever I need it. But usually now I do it myself. My best friend, Pat, has been with me since the first time that I realized I had chronic pain, and she walks with me almost every day, and she is on my team. So create a team of people around you and be that leader of your team. What we think really matters. If we think that we can't do this and we can't do that and we can't do something else, we're going to create that scenario in our lives. What I learned to think was, how can I get out there and do my walking? And so I developed a strategy for that. I started slowly. I built up the time and the length of walking that I was doing, and also the intensity. And so it's important to check your thinking, that you are supporting yourself, and always advocate respectfully. You even if you don't feel like it, even if you are angry, it really matters that when you are working with another person and working to get something built in to your work system or your pain care, that you know that the person across from you is a person too, who also has struggles, who also is working within systems that can be very limiting to them. And so working together is, I find, is the way to go. So very quickly, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I do, the way that I approach my life. So I have my daily routines, which focus in every day on adapting, because new things, new situations come into our lives that and we have those, and we have our pain, and we have to negotiate how we're going to get through our day, accomplish our goals, and feel good about ourselves and our lives, be of service to others. This is adapting, in my opinion. Then we have the days where pain issues can be very overwhelming. And we need to plan for those, but expect that we're going to have more better days. And so what I learned to do was to focus in on nutrition, my exercise, and my sleep hygiene, and to do something that I enjoy every day. For some people, that will be hugging their grandchild. For some, it will be playing with their child. Some, it will be going to work or volunteering somewhere, taking a walk with your partner or a friend. In order to accomplish all of these things, which in the beginning of your coping can seem like full-time work, planning what you're going to eat, making meals ahead so that on your tough days, you can pull something out of the freezer and still eat well. By the way, eating well, making sure that you're fueling your body to meet your needs. Exercise is critical because it prevents us becoming deconditioned. It helps us to manage the stress that we experience with chronic pain and life in general, because endorphins are released into our body. It also helps to moderate our pain. And sleep is very restorative and important. We've got a really good workshop on the power over pain that I will show you. Doing something you enjoy restores you. It restores who you are. In order to accomplish all of these things, we have to plan what we're doing. We have to be open to changing our plans depending on what our pain levels are doing. We need to prioritize within each day. What's the most important thing? So this morning, I didn't walk 3 kilometers before I was here with you. I walked about 10 minutes to limber myself up. When I'm done today, I will walk my 3 kilometers. So I prioritized my time with you, and I paced myself through being able to be with you. And you can do that through every single activity. always remind you here to check your thinking. Make sure you're being supportive. You can actually go to a mirror and you can look in that mirror and you can say to yourself, Lynn, you may be having pain, but you can do whatever it is. So, Lynn, you may be having pain, is what I said to myself this morning, but you can be with everybody who has taken the time to come to the webinar, and you're going to do a good job. Click. For the tough days, you want to have a list of people who you can reach out to that you know. So your doctor, your physiotherapist, a counselor who you work with. It's important to keep moving even a little bit. And sometimes moving a little bit less can help you get through that tough day and then move you back towards your adapting days. Just in closing here, I would really like to talk about creating a way forward. Some of the things I've mentioned, it looks like a full-time job when you look on the left. And as you begin this, if you're in the beginning stages of dealing with chronic pain from whatever source, including a work injury, you're going to feel very much that there's so much to do. Start somewhere. First of all, I think, is to increase your understanding of, if you know what caused your pain, learn about that. Learn about what chronic pain is and how the shift happens within your body system, in your body networks, from acute pain to chronic pain, and how you can use different coping strategies like meditation, exercise, and self-talk to change how your body system is interpreting pain. Start by creating a pain plan. Just sit down and write or put on your laptop in a folder some things that you want to start to do. So maybe you want to learn about meditation because Lynn mentioned it. Maybe you want to start learning about prioritizing, planning, and pacing. So learn about that and see how you can integrate it into your pain plan. Look at what healthcare providers and say workers advisors, people who can help you integrate better back to work. But look at the health systems that you can. Something happened on outside here. Um, Look at the healthcare providers that you can get involved with, who can provide you with knowledge, with exercise, help you do goal setting, so that you can learn and have an ongoing adaptation of your life. And when you're looking for knowledge resources, make sure that you are accessing safe and reliable and evidence-based information and knowledge. Remember to create and lead your life team. So on my life team are my family members, my friend Pat, who walks with me every day, my social network, the healthcare providers that I interact with, my co-workers, who at times I have to remind them that I am a person with pain. And as I'm traveling, I need to check my bag because I can't lift my baggage to the upper compartment in an aircraft. And so they have to pay that for me, things like that. Um, So what I want to tell you about your life team, however, is that people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So I've had some reason folks, like different healthcare providers from whom I've learned, and then I can do things on my own. I've had some individuals who I work with that are in and out of my life. And I have my lifers who are my family and friends. Remember to advocate respectfully for you for what you need. Always work, and it comes to us. So much comes to us about how we need to do this to negotiate chronic pain. We need to have that plan, work that plan every day. And so it's important to work on communication. And you can learn that through stress management courses, through other courses that you can take, so that you can share with your family, your work colleagues, and others how you can speak so that they can better understand what you're going through. Above all, everybody, you've got the courage inside you to do this. You may not know it. I didn't know it for a time, but then I learned that I could. I just did it. And when I looked back, I could see how far I came. Just know that you can do it. Know it's going to take time, but it is possible. And you can create and live your best life. Rather than running long distances, I walked them. Rather than downhill skiing, I chose cross country, and I was able to do that. And so those are some examples. Moving beyond the pain happens on a daily basis. Living well in spite of the pain, with pain in your life, from my experience, requires a shift in attitude and an adaptive lifestyle that acknowledge the pain, but these things are not ruled by the pain. And now I'd like to shift to the tour of the Power Over Pain portal. We're at the half-hour mark again, and I would just ask you to please do some stretching and to refresh your coffee or your water. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. When we do the tours of the Power Over Pain portal, we always want to make sure that people know that the information and content that we provide on the portal, and it says orientation session, that's kind of what you're getting. It's not intended as and shall not be understood as medical or clinical care. And if you are having issues, we highly recommend that you seek advice from a licensed healthcare provider for any medical or health-related diagnosis or treatment options. The Power Over Pain portal is just that. It brings together evidence-based resources and information for you from many sources. It's one place where you can get information about pain management. You can access tools and resources. You can choose the type of resource that you want to look at, from one that takes you 5 to 10 minutes to extended courses. And there are resources there for mental health and substance use. Everything that is on the portal is free, and it is evidence-based. And our portal is a living, breathing entity. Because everything about us as people with lived experience with pain is impacted by the pain. our environment, our relationships at work, our ability to work, our relationships with family and friends, our challenges with accessing care, our financial issues, the fact that we bring different cultural backgrounds to play in all of this. The portal was set up to address as many of these issues and to treat us as whole people. I wanted to share with you there are two portals. One is the youth portal, and I'll tour you on the adult portal. These are the individuals who lead the youth portal. These are, of course, we can't do anything without involving the people with lived experience. So this is the Youth Advisory Committee. These are some of the collaborators that have had input to the youth portal. And these are my peers, my co-workers, who have worked tirelessly to complete what we have so far with the pain portal. And these are the lived experience individuals who I work with, who've had tremendous input to how the portal looks, how it feels, how you navigate through the portal, and the resources that have gone on the portal. And all of our lived experience people, be youth or adults, live from coast to coast. So we're getting a real flavor of what is needed. And these are the collaborators on the adult portal. The structure of the work that has gone into creating the Power Over Pain portal is pretty incredible. We have the steering committees for both the youth and adult, and the youth and adult come together in the scientific advisory committee, the operations committee. We have our advisory committees that we meet every month, and we bring questions to them. We have people working on knowledge mobilization, diversity and inclusion, and all across Canada, there are a large number of partners, as you saw, who are providing input to the portal. And so now I would like to take you to portal. And so I'm hoping right now that you are seeing the actual landing page for the Power Over Pain portal. You are great. I'm going to take us into the adult portal. And what I can tell you about this is there are so many different ways to access the information on the portal. You will see that there is a menu at the top that has everything about the portal, and you can choose to access it there. You'll notice here that we're on the English portal, but there is a French portal. It has many of the resources translated and many resources in French that have been produced in French. I want to highlight that for anybody who needs help immediately, I need help now. If you click on there, beyond going, calling yourself to 911, if you were in crisis, you would find other resources that you could look at. On the very top bar here, we have easy access to several of the resources that are highlighted in the top drop-down menu. I want to share for you the welcome video. Now, what I'll tell you is I'm at the cottage right now, and I have just a slightly lower internet speed. So there are two places in the video that it pauses for a moment. That's when everybody takes a moment to breathe, and then the video will start again. So here we go.
So, Lynn, we could not hear any sound.
Okay,
The same for each person.
that shifted out on me. So I will restart.
You
should
belong
hear
here.
now.
Your pain is real. You are not to blame, and you are not alone. Power over pain is possible. Did you
Oh, it'll be okay.
know that 1 in 5 people live with persistent pain? That's a lot. Maybe you're one of them, or maybe you know someone who lives with pain. Pain doesn't look or feel the same for each person, and even if it's invisible most of the time, this doesn't mean it hurts any less. Pain affects everything about us, in different ways, at different times. When pain interferes with what we want to do, or need to do, like cook for a loved one, take your child to a soccer game, going out for a walk, focusing at work, or playing with your kids or beloved pet. Our mood and quality of sleep gets affected too. In fact, persistent pain can interfere with our lives so much that sometimes we think living like this is the new normal. Pain hurts, and it can stop many people from leading the life they want. Finding trustworthy information and programs on the internet is tough. There's a lot of information out there and in many different places. The good news. The Power Over Pain portal is here to help you by providing a one-stop shop to free, online, and evidence-informed resources to help you gain power over pain and start doing the things that matter to you. Co-designed by people who live with pain, clinicians, researchers, and community organizations. The Power Over Pain portal brings together many resources in one spot that may help you manage your pain. All the resources on the Power Over Pain portal have been reviewed by people who live with pain. Every person's pain experience is unique, so we have included a variety of resources for you to choose from, based on your interest and the amount of time you want to invest. If you are a part of the 1 in 5 Canadians who lives with pain, this portal is designed for you. Use the Power Over Pain portal as you wish. Bring a podcast on the road, connect with peers, or get into one of our courses. Whatever it is you're looking for, the Power Over Pain portal will point you towards the best resource available. You belong here. Your pain is real. You are not to blame, and you are not alone. Power over pain is possible.
So there we have it. I hope that gave you a little bit more information about how, why, and everything about the portal. I would like to go along here, and I want to show you about something that I think is really important. It's our events. And so you can get to the events page in many different ways. You'll see that we have calendars set up. So you'll notice that today there happens to be a workshop about pain and trauma. And so if you haven't sat enough by the end of our time together today, you, you might want to very easily go into the portal, click on this registration link, and attend the workshop on trauma and pain. And we have other workshops that are set up, and we are building more. There's going to be an incredible amount of activities that will be happening the first full week of November, because that is National Pain Awareness Week. So if by chance you were not able to attend the pain and trauma workshop today, in a few days, you would be able to go onto the portal here and click on watch past workshops, and you would be able to see and view some of the resources of the workshops. So I referred earlier to learn more about pain and how chronic pain happens in your body and in your brain, and the relationship between your brain and the rest of your body, and how we can make changes. Go to the Pain Neuroscience workshop. If you want to get a better understanding about the different levels of sleep, about how you can change some things that you're doing to improve your sleep and get better restorative sleep, go to the Sleep Well Despite Pain. If you are interested in learning about how peer support, self-help groups are of such great value, go to this particular workshop that we've had. We're always going to be adding in new workshops each month. And so I wanted to bring you to peer support, because it is so very important. And a good friend of mine, Virginia McIntyre, is the director of the People in Pain Network. And she and I both know how important self-help groups are, excuse me. And when I was learning about my fibromyalgia, and how to cope with it, because it was such an enigma, I went to self-help groups, and I got so much from those groups. I learned about fibromyalgia and chronic pain. I could see some of the leaders who were living with fibromyalgia and chronic pain do things like running the group, organizing the group, that I didn't know that I could really do anymore. My degree and my work experience was in urban and regional planning. And at that time, organizing was such an important thing, but I wasn't able to do that. When I went to the self-help group, I was able to hear from others how they adapted their lives. I tried some of the tricks that they used. I learned some of the skills that they recommended and their guest speakers recommended. And then, believe it or not, I started volunteering in that group. And it was very, very helpful for my self-esteem, for feeling like I had more control in my life. And so here are some of the resources that you would be able to access. You'll notice that there are two at the bottom here, through Pain BC, and also in British Columbia, and Progress Over Pain, that are specific to their provinces. But that's okay. The People in Pain Network has an online group that goes all the time online. And so I would now like to move us into some of the resources and the way that things are presented. So when you come onto the portal, you can access all of these things immediately. Everything is free. There are certain resources on the portal, like self-directed management courses and your ability to do self-tracking through the self-assessments for which you need an account. I'll speak with you about that a little bit later. So you can access everything here from the top menu. The Orient, in that section, you would have that welcome video, and there are some other videos. Under Learn, that's where you access the resources. I'll talk about that shortly. The Connecting with Peer Groups, you saw that page and the resources that are listed there. And there is an option for you to be able to go on and talk to counselors as you may need it. And that service is offered through Wellness Together Canada. You can see we do like people to go to our events, so we put another option there for people. I'm going to take you now into the resource section. In the resources, you can just start exploring, or you can choose. I'm just going to click this. You can start exploring and just look at all the resources that are available so that you can plan what you might be able to do. You can actually click on something like mindfulness, and all of the resources about mindfulness will come your way. Keep in mind that we're adding to the resources all of the time. If I were to click, whoop, sorry. Sometimes it does its thing. If you click on nutrition and then move down, you are going to see resources on nutrition. Now, the neat thing about the portal is that you can choose the type of resource that you would like to look at. You can do, I'm just moving this down just a tinge. You can read articles, you can listen to podcasts, you can do self-directed courses, you can look at other tools and resources. You can also sort them by resources from across Canada and those that are specific to each province. So if I could choose articles, and I could choose across Canada, and then I would choose apply. And I would go down and I would see lots of articles that I would be able to read. And then I can reset out of that. If I were to want to do self-directed courses, I would apply that. And up would come the self-directed courses that you need to have an account to access. And these have many modules that you can do over time. The reason that you need an account for these is because then it's one access point through to the course, and you can go in to where you have saved the work that you have been doing. So there are lots of opportunities here to engage with different resources, depending on how long you have to give in a day and the type of learner that you are. You might be a listener. I need to see it and hear it. So that works for me. I do a little bit of both. Under the About section, I wanted to show you this, that the work of the portal is based really in direct response to Health Canada's Action Plan for Pain in Canada. And our goal really has been to provide access to free evidence-based resources for you. This is a living, breathing entity, and we will always be adding to the portal. These are the major organizations who are behind the portal. And our message to you, as in the welcome video, is you are not alone, and there are many ways that you can take back your power over pain. And here are some of our partners. And I'm so pleased to show you the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance logo at the bottom there. We are very much a partner about this. And so now I'm going to actually take us back to my slide deck, because what I would like to do is to talk with you a bit about setting up your account and the reason for it. Now, Lisa, are you seeing the slide, the organizing slide? Perfect. All right. So when you go on to the portal, you can see there is a section here where you can create your account. And when you click on that, this screen will come up where you can create an account in one of two ways. You can do it through the portal system, or by putting in your email address and pushing create an account, or you can actually create your account through Apple, Facebook, Google, and Microsoft. The reason for creating the account is to get you access to those self-directed courses, and also to be able to go through and fill in self-assessments that can help you track how you are doing in your pain management. And when you do a self-assessment, the system will recommend resources for you. So once you click on create your account, you put in your email address, you'll receive an email that thanks you for registering and provides you with a one-time login that you would use. And when you use that login, then you're asked to set your password. And you can see all the requirements down here to help you to set a really effective and safe password. Then you will save it, and then you will be able to log in and get to your spot on the portal. And when you do that, you can fill in self-assessments, and an assessment would look like this. You answer questions about how was your rate of pain on average. It asks you about your pain intensity. How is your pain? What about your pain is interfering with your life? How are you feeling about your pain and life in general? What is your mood like? What's your sleep like? How is it being interfered? And how is all of this impacting how you feel about your ability to go through your life and deal with what you have to and reach towards some of your goals? And so that's the self-efficacy question that you can see all of these here. There is a spot, if you wish, if it applies to you and you want to monitor it, there are questions that you can answer about alcohol and drug use. It's not required, and you don't have to answer all of the questions if you don't want to when you do a self-assessment. If you don't answer the questions, though, the system won't be able to do a full recommendation of the resources on the portal that may apply to you. So just be aware of that. Now, when the self-assessments come up, they reach you by an email advising you every 2 weeks that you can do a self-assessment. Why I like the self-assessments is because I know that it can be very difficult to, as we're learning our coping strategies, adapting our life, and dealing with life, it can be really, really difficult to see when we're making strides forward. And it sort of all gets meshed into working to break out of that pain cycle. And so you can see from this graph, you can record over time the different aspects. So here is pain interference. You can see from moving as you would do your self-assessments that it's recorded how well you're dealing with pain interfering in your life. So really what this does for you is it gets you to know your pain, and it helps you to identify the things that are working well, the things you might wish to change, the help that you might want to reach out for within the healthcare community, and so forth, to help you build your toolkit so that you can create that best life. And so I wanted to just highlight the resources for you for Power Over Pain. There's the email to contact us. There's the website to get you started on your journey to learn to live well with pain. There's the email for the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance, where you can reach out to our office manager, Janet, and you can get to me if you need to. Or want to. And there's our website where you can find some resources and helpful information. And so I really want to thank you for sitting through this time together. And I'd be happy to take some questions, Lisa.
Sure. Well, I want to say, first of all, just a big, big thank you, Lynn. This was really a very rich, heartfelt, and insightful presentation. I think as I was listening to you talk, you're obviously incredibly knowledgeable, but such a gift, I think, is when we share our stories with one another, and not at all, I think, with the assumption that what's worked for any of us on our journey is what might work for someone else on their journey, but simply to say you're not alone. I think that is just
Yes.
the biggest gift. So I want to really thank you for that. And I think it was so thorough. So I'll ask people to put questions in the chat, but you were so thorough, so I'm not sure we're going to have necessarily all that many. One question that I was going to ask you is, we had a participant ask if you would be able to share your slides.
Oh, yes, sure.
Yeah, so we will get
Yes.
that out to participants probably within the week. One of the questions that I did have for you, Lynn, and I know we chatted about this offline, is one in regards to the reality of so many people struggling with having access to computers and the digital inequities that exist. And also, if you could comment on so much of the great information, is in English and French, I believe you were saying, and just wondering what the thinking is behind making that more accessible to folks who don't necessarily speak either English or French. So if you could comment on that, that would be great.
Okay, so lots of great things. We're only in the beginning stages of the portal development. So and as we go along, new resources are going to be added. And we in development envision being able to provide the resources in more languages, and to increase the accessibility of the portal. We're in discussions about that right now. Actually, last week and later today, that's happening. And so I have pain brain now. So can you remind me of some of those questions that you asked a little bit earlier? You asked several questions.
Yeah, so one was just, I know we were chatting about the digital inequities, and I think we were speaking before about, I think you were mentioning like accessibility in community clinics,
Yes.
Yes.
Right, right. And so we're looking, and funding has to come into all of this. Thankfully, in order to create this, we had funding from Health Canada. They're very forward thinking about this. We are now starting to work to be able to get the Power Over Pain portal integrated into health systems. And so then that would open up the integration within doctors' offices, for instance, to be able to have that playing within within safe injection sites, within communities, within community centers, where there could be in the future the possibility of access there, running some of the workshops, the courses, bringing people into a room so they would be able to view it. We know that there's such a challenge for people who don't have access to the internet. But you know what? You have to start somewhere. And back in the day, I was involved in creating the Pain Resource Center, which was the very first online resource center for pain and pain management. And when we had to close the Canadian Pain Coalition because of lack of funding, that went down, and it was left to other organizations like Pain BC, for instance, to create online resources. And now that is being rolled into Pain Canada, which is amazing. But there isn't a device like the portal where we're bringing the resources from so many different sources into one place. That's the uniqueness of the portal. That's why we call it a portal and not a website.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Just being in, obviously working in healthcare, one of the real incredible challenges in this day and age is managing information, and not just managing information, but as you say, evidence-based, accurate information, and a trustworthy site, right? So this is absolutely huge. And so I think that's a real gift that the portal offers, is that we know the quality is there, we know the evidence is there, we know who the people are who are leading this, and so is very much like a trusted site. And I think that is just so incredibly important. One of the things I did want to mention as well is just I think equally important in terms of so many workers get injured and die every year, right? And so preventing workplace injuries is also where so much of that work needs to be, in particular, helping workers understand their rights. And not only that, but really helping workers understand what to do when they get injured, right? That help in terms of the compensation system, how do they report? That is a big gap and continues to be a gap for many, many, many workers. And so I do want to say that we are trying to, on our website, there's a section on injured worker support, and we're trying to begin slowly to put resources up there that folks might find helpful. And so I encourage you to check that out as well. And I think that's probably it, Lynn, because it was just so absolutely thorough. And
Well, I hope I didn't drone on too long, but there's,
no,
all of those on that one slide where I had my coping strategies. So
yeah,
I just listed exercise,
yeah,
nutrition, sleep hygiene. Well, my goodness, each of those things could be mini courses all on their own. There's so much to do. And for people who are injured and people living with pain all put together, it can be so hard to know where to start. And you just take that first step and you do something. You start, it's like when you start to walk or to move, if you are in a wheelchair or you need an assistive device, you take that first movement forward and then the next one and then the next one, and you find that you do make progress. And there are going to be times when it feels discouraging for people. There are going to be times when it's downright anger making and frustrating. And you kind of wonder what you should be doing next. I went through all of that, Lisa. And sometimes I still do. I get frustrated with a limitation that may come up that I'm not quite used to just because of something that's happened. And so then what I take solace in is that I have all of these coping strategies that over time I have developed. Maybe some I haven't used lately, and then I have to bring forward so that I can use it. For injured workers, I'm so glad that you are putting on a section on your website, and I'll want to make sure that we get connected from the Canadian Injured Workers Alliance with your website. Like many organizations, CIWA was extremely impacted by COVID.
yeah,
All of the impacts by COVID. And so we're small but mighty and building back.
yeah,
And so we're adding new things, we're developing new programs and things like that all the time.
yeah,
And we, like many not-for-profit charities, work incredibly well with limited funding. And so we always want to be making those connections. So thank you for putting that information out there. And for the workers, always remember that there can be work resources like the workers advisor in your province that can be of help as well.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, part of this and what we're hoping to do, every couple of months is having a speaker like this, on topics that injured and ill workers might find helpful. And it really is a source of networking. And that's what some folks have said in the chat as well. It's really an opportunity to network with folks. And so
Yes.
again, thank you. And I think, I'm thinking of a quote, and it's not a quote that I've ever said, but it is about something like, that first step, taking that first step along the path, and then the path appears. And
Yes.
I think that's a little bit of what you're speaking to, but it's like that journey can get overwhelming when we look at everything that has to be done, but simply taking that first step is, just so important. So I think I'll end with that. I want to say a big thank you to Tiffany as well for helping us out earlier,
Yes.
our IT issues and her skills. So thank you, Tiffany. And thank you, Lynn. And thank you to everybody for joining us, and have a wonderful day here in Winnipeg. It's absolutely beautiful. So maybe one of the last few days we'll have before snow comes. So thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Lovely to be with you. Have a great day.